Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is April. I go by Ruby Rouge here on the YouTubes, and today I am doing a super fun video with one of my friends here on YouTube. Her name is Jen and she goes by Project Beauty. She's also formerly known as Zyzo, so you may know her already, but I will definitely be putting her channel down below, so check it out. Jen and I go way back. She is an OG YouTuber. We met many years ago. I'm not going to tell you how many because I don't know off the top of my head, but she was actually my first collab on YouTube. So full circle, I'm coming back and doing a collab with the very first person I collabed with on YouTube. So exciting. Jen is an amazing eyeshadow woman. She does really great things with her eyeshadow. Yeah, she's good. Me, on the other hand, I feel like I'm just kind of an average person. I like to think of myself more of like an inspiration. And then you kind of take the look and you do with what you please. So I post a lot of looks on my channel, on my Instagram, on, you know, in different videos that I post. I'm always posting looks, but it's more not to show you how amazing I am. It's more to show you kind of what the shadows look like, if that makes sense. So today we're going to do this Huda Beauty Mauve Obsession palette, which is one of my favorite palettes. I actually even have pan on it. I really enjoy this palette. I do think it has some little minor issues, but you know, honestly, it's a really good palette. It was a great price point. I feel like a lot of people picked this palette up, so I thought this was a cool palette to kind of do an eye look with, especially since it's Valentine's Day theme, being pink, rosy tones. I mean, it is what it is. February is just, it's red. It's just red. Regardless of how you feel about Valentine's Day. Anyways, I really like this color palette on me. I think it's kind of versatile. I think it will suit a lot of skin tones. And y'all, this is the eye look. You know, if you like it, stay tuned. If you don't, skip ahead. But I'm gonna do the tutorial, do some voiceover. Yeah, let's get started with the eye look. Obligatory awkward faces and a hello. I've already done the majority of my face makeup. I do have some concealer on my eyelids, set with powder. I need the coverage as I have veins and sunspots and they can really show through on less opaque shadows. I've been pretty seriously playing with this palette since the beginning of the year, and I've come to the conclusion that I prefer to use it with an unset base. The only primer that I have right now is the Lorac primer, and it's been working just fine. And I am trying to use it up before I buy anything else. So I apply it to my lids and then I do not set. I tried to use brushes that are available for purchase, but that basically means Wayne Goss for me, as the rest of my brushes are either super old, they're from BoxyCharm, or they're unbranded. I do love my Goss brushes and I would recommend them. Here's a pic of the brushes that I'm going to be using throughout. It Cosmetics brush for Ulta for my angled liner. We have a Wayne Goss 16, we have a Wayne Goss 20, a Wayne Goss 06, and an Alamar Cosmetics brush as my synthetic shader. The first thing that I am attempting to do is build a white base on the inner third of the eyelid. I really wanted to do a gradient with the shimmery shades, and unfortunately the light shade is more of a topper than a light shimmer, which is what I really want. I really wish this palette included a really light and opaque shimmer. I'm really missing that when I use this palette on a pretty consistent basis. I'm using this kind of fluffy brush because I am going to use it later to finish the look with the bone shade, so I'm just kind of planning ahead there a little bit. I probably wouldn't normally start with this step, but since the shade is not opaque, I really have to block out the area that I want to have the light color in and make sure that no other pigment gets under there, or it's going to be really hard for me to lighten back up. I have long fingernails, so I really despise finger applications, but it was the only thing that is working because I had to cover my sticky base with the white, so the brushes weren't working because there was nothing for the shadow to grip to, so the brushes didn't work as well as they should have. I attempted with a synthetic shader from Alamar and then just gave up and used my fingers. fingers work just fine. It's just, you know. So this is the Wayne Goss 06. I don't know if that, actually, if that one's even still available. I know the darker haired bristles, he switched to white, didn't he? Going into Wayne Goss 06, going into shade number 6, which is like this medium rose pink. I am placing this in the upper crease using a light hand and a tapped off brush. These shadows can get a little out of control pretty quickly, and I think that they have a slight tendency to get a little muddy. So I'm trying really hard to get my placement where I want without having to overblend. Because of how I think these shadows work, I'm starting light to dark and high to low, and larger placement to smaller placement. They do blend really well, and they're really mostly pretty easy to use. I've just found that putting a little extra effort in up front and kind of planning and being careful with these really pays off. I pull my crease up pretty high because I have hooded eyes and large eye space. I do feel like this placement works for me most of the time, but obviously, you know, this is going to be a different placement for everyone. Now I'm going in with smaller brush. Now I'm going to go in with the smaller brush for the outer third. I did tap off a little bit too much. I am trying to be extra careful with these. I have found that it pays to do quite a bit of tapping. I really like using my color switch. It's become a necessity for me. If I just got this really cheap off of Amazon, but if I don't want to get every brush that I own dirty, it just really takes off the excess with shadows, really pigmented shadows like these, and then you can get right back to a clean blending brush. My eyes are not perfectly symmetrical, so I like to do both eyes at the same time so I can go back and forth. I also have a place on my left 2U eye that I really have trouble getting pigment to stick to. It always looks kind of creasy, so I just have to keep packing pigment in there. It will eventually stick, but I have to go back in a lot. But that's what I'm doing now. I'm just trying to get things to even out and make sure that everything is blended and there aren't any patchy spots. I am going to go in now and add some of the bone colored shade. It is a little bit lighter than I want, and since I'm staying only in this palette for this video, I dipped just a touch into the tan shade above it to mix with it. And use that slightly to kind of blend into the pink in the crease for just a slight transition, and then the pure bone white in the high point of the arch and the inner crease. Sometimes I have good luck using a brush with the shimmers in this palette on a synthetic shader, but this particular brush and this particular time, for whatever reason, it's just not working. So I did go get my Fix Plus, and that helped me out quite a bit. I really prefer, like I mentioned earlier, like I mentioned earlier, I just really prefer using the brush because I want that control. My finger, just with my fingernails and stuff, I just don't get the control. So with a lot of Fix Plus later, after I have my placement pretty much set down, I will press in a little bit with my fingers, trying my best to be like incredibly careful and keep my placement, but I did want to get a little bit more pop from the shimmers. And then once again, I have a little bit of back and forth to kind of attempt to even things out. Next up, I have an angled liner brush, and I'm actually going to dip this into shade number 7 and do the lower lash line with this shade. It just has a little bit less red, and yeah, I think anytime you're doing your lower lash line, if you think you can get away with a little bit less red, it's a little bit safer, obviously, and it blends just fine. Like, it's close enough that it just blends just fine. I did try to add a little bit of the light shimmer to the inner lash line, but this shade really it really needs the opaque base. This is one shade in the palette for me that I would just really change. It still works for some things, but I just think it could be so much better. And honestly, when I'm using this palette, just like, you know, at home on a daily basis, I will often reach into a different shade here. I will often reach for something with the opaque base. I've been skipping liner a lot lately, and I'm not really sure why, so I'm just moving straight into curling eyelashes and mascara. This is the Tarte Big Ego Eyes. I think it came in a box maybe, but I do like it. It reminds me a little bit of Better Than Sex mascara, it is pretty dry, and the wand is a little large, but the finish is really nice though, and my lashes always look really good, and it removes easily, and it doesn't smudge throughout the day, so it's like I can't really complain about it. It seems to be a really good mascara so far. Next, finally, I'm going to use the Viseart Brow Palette for finishing my brows, and then my camera shuts off, and I figured that meant it was time for me to say goodbye. Alright guys, so thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you. Please go check out Jen, or if you're coming from her channel, thank you so much for stopping by to give me a chance too. And yeah, thanks so much, and I will see you again soon. Bye!